So I think it's a really important practice as an individual and as a leader in a company to try to share that with your team, which is slow down. You don't have to move as fast as all these notifications. Protect your time. Protect your ability to focus and think thoughtfully. It's not about doing 100 things. It's about doing 5 things that are the most important things to be doing. And by doing those 5 really important things and giving them your attention and your focus, you will most likely have far more impact than doing 50 small little things that don't move the needle.
Hello, and welcome to the Mind Your Leadership podcast. I'm Karen Suk, and today my guest is Sam Rosen. Sam is the co-founder and CEO of Deskpass, a leading platform offering access to thousands of co-working spaces nationwide. Sam's journey into co-working began as a co-owner of the Coop Chicago first co-working space. Sam has also made a name for himself as an entrepreneur and a respected voice in the design community, co-founded the Post family in one design company. He lives in Oak Park, Illinois, with his wife and 2 fantastic children. Today, we are going to talk about how to lead in a decentralized digital world, and Sam will share his insight on managing teams and staying connected in today's flexible work environment. So, Sam, thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me. It's great to meet you.
You too. And I would always like to start with your personal journey. And if you can share with us your personal journey and what brought you to co-found Deskpass company.
Yeah, of course. So I'm a born and bred Chicagoan, and I've always been entrepreneurial since I was a little kid. So always working on some scheme and something to try to sell. My first real sort of business is a digital branding agency. So like an interactive digital agency, which will celebrate its 20th anniversary in February of this year. So
Right.
I've been doing that for more than half of my life. And through running an agency, I had the experience to learn about lots of different businesses, from everything from hospitality businesses to like leading biotech or hard science that like has, incredible opportunities to like change the face of humanity. And so I've always loved to learn and learn how businesses work and businesses operate, and had a platform to be creative and try new things. I came across coworking really early, about 15 years ago. So I live in Chicago. I had a girlfriend who was in New York. I was kind of traveling back and forth a lot. I was working out like for a garden apartment trying to run this agency, and she was lovely. Bad internet, bad cell phone, thin layer of clothing across the floor. And as my meetings got more important, I became like dropping phone calls and like couldn't chat. So I had one meeting where my colleague was our biggest, kickoff of our company. And I dropped the call like 5 times. And my colleague was like, Sam, can't do that anymore. And I was like, oh, okay. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't live in New York. I went to the cafe across the street, which was called The Rabbit Hole. And I worked from there. And they didn't want me either, because I'd have like 1 bagel and 2 coffees, and I'd sit there all day. And all of a sudden it's like, well, the internet stopped working and the power stopped working, and I couldn't use my computer during lunch. I was like, okay, I get it. And that same friend was like, have you ever heard of coworking? And I think everyone at the time had the same reaction, which was what? And there was a wiki with about 300 spaces all over the world. One happened to be in like South Brooklyn. And I showed up to this space and I found a wonderful place to work. I found a wonderful community that solved these very pragmatic needs around internet and not dropping phone calls. But I met very cool New Yorkers that kind of took me in, and I was smitten with the idea. Kind of right place, right time. My partner and I decided, who's doing this in Chicago? And looked, and nobody was doing this in Chicago. So we opened the first co-working space in Chicago about 13 years ago.
Wow.
And then just being a guy who builds technology, like was very excited about this new concept and the underutilization of office and the opportunity. And it seemed obvious then that this was going to be a thing. So started to build software around this space. And that's what I've been really focused on ever since.
That's amazing. To be honest, my offices are in WeWork. I believe that you know.
Of course.
But WeWork actually don't exist 30 years. I think they're younger, right?
So
If they're not.
yeah, our company predates WeWork. So WeWork was founded out of a space called Green Space, and this was before all that. So we got a front row seat to the WeWork
Uh-huh.
rise.
Nice. So, to be honest, I really believe in this, in the community, right? At the end of the day, the co-spaces are creating also community and for entrepreneurs and for people to interact and connect. And when Corona hit, I think a lot of people went on working remotely. Some of them used the co-spaces, some of them stayed at home, but at the end of the day, the inclination is to work a lot more remotely than to be together in the space. So how do you see these challenges and how do you tackle these challenges as a leader by yourself and from your
Yeah,
impact as an entrepreneur?
it's been a very fascinating thing to kind of have a front row seat to. So to give you a little context, what we do at Deskpass is we work with thousands and thousands of workspaces all over the world. And then we work with companies of small to some of the biggest companies in the world. The US government is one of our clients. And we connect the dots. So we give these companies a platform. So if they want to offer flexible workspace to their employees, they have a really great platform to manage what's available, set rules and pricing, and kind of analyze what's happening. And because that's what we sell, we get to talk to so many different spaces and so many leaders. And I've been doing it before COVID and post COVID. And I think like before COVID, a lot of the conversation was, going to come and say, well, I'll never be a remote company. We'll never use this. And you're like, well, why? Well, it's a law firm. It's like, well, because my books are here and my staff is here. And this is where we learn and we mentor and we tutor. And I'm never going to do that. Right. COVID hits, they don't have the infrastructure for remote work. They don't have the software. They don't have the culture. Yet 3 months later, they're like, I'm never going back to the office ever again. This is so great. Why would I go to the office? Right. So it changed from, I'm never going to use this remote future. And obviously there's companies that have been doing this for a long time too. But, a lot of companies then went to, well, no, we can be a completely remote company. And then it's the opposite. Why would I ever go to an office again? Why would I ever need a co-working space? Like I have this beautiful office at my house and I don't have to go anywhere. And I think now you're seeing sort of the pendulum kind of shift back, and not to the same degree of we have to be in the office 5 days a week, every day, all day, but really to empowering employees and your team to say, where do you get your best work done? And let us support you there. I think a lot of employees will say, well, if there's a reason for me to go back to the office for this day, for a meeting, for a meetup, like I'm more than happy to do that. But if I'm just going to sit at my office all day on my computer and I can avoid the schlep and why wouldn't I do that? So that's, I think, what we're seeing companies do is really understand the behavior of their employees and create an ecosystem for their employees that just empower them to get their best work done wherever they get their best work done, and let them choose opposed to choose for them.
No, I think we can see today also from research that we do need the time together in order to create innovations and creativity, right? The best ideas are in the kitchen when we take coffee or we have the small talks. So I think we are, as you said, we're in the process of this change. So we went from one brand to the other one, and now we looking for the balance, right? The right balance to enable people to come together and to connect, to create this innovation creativity, and to be really efficient and productive in their own time and work from home. How do you see this challenge?
Yeah, I think this is really important idea. I think two different people may have very different ways of using space, right? And based on the company we work for, based on if we're the same company, maybe we might have very different jobs that require different workspaces. We may need different workspaces on different days. Some days I need a quiet place to focus and just be like resolute. And some days I need to be inspired and creative and be around other people. Some days my kids have school and a doctor's appointment and I have to pick them up, right? So it's finding the right workspace at the right time, which sometimes is going to the office, sometimes working from home, and then sometimes using this network of incredible kind of communal workspaces that are popping up all over the world.
So you're actually saying you're giving them the companies a platform. I mean, they can use it however they want according to their needs. So it's actually a tailored solution, right, for each member?
Yeah. And I think what's really important is it's not just giving them the spaces, it's helping them learn. Because most companies, most individuals don't know. They don't know what they want. They don't know what they need. This is all new to them. How do you find the solution? You try some things. You figure out what you like, you figure out what you don't like. And then as a company, you can ask your employees what they want, but I would argue, I don't think they necessarily know yet. So by giving them the options and then really learning their behavior and understanding their behavior, you can create a long-term solution that, works best for everybody.
So you actually also offer in physical spaces or only remote spaces?
So we essentially are a marketplace of professional workspace operators. So Deskpass doesn't own any of these spaces, but we work with all sorts of workspaces all over the world and then make it bookable on this, like in a sort of centralized, consistent way.
So tell me, as a leader or a manager of your own company, how do you foster a company, a culture in the company of teamwork in this virtual spaces that you're not in the same space and work remotely mainly?
Yeah, I mean, we're a company, and both of the companies have always been quite progressive when it comes to remote work. So we're not new to this. We've been doing this for a long time. And I think there's a couple things that we've learned that are really, really important. One is sort of this lowest common denominator, right? If one person in a meeting is working remotely, then you have to optimize that meeting for that person, because you don't want 5 people at a table and that one person like, hello, like you want to build an environment that feels inclusive and accessible to everybody, so they don't feel like they're getting a worse experience or missing out by not being at the table. And I think that requires technology, the right hardware, it requires the right practices. So that's a big piece that we've learned. And then kind of all the modern tools to build a remote company. So we use tools like Slack and email, obviously, but we also we try to really make sure that our team knows the right tools for the job and how we can create as much sort of asynchronous communication as possible so that we can get the most value out of the synchronous conversation. So like not every meeting has to be a meeting. A lot of meetings can be a post, right? Or an email, or we use Notion, like a board on Notion. And you invite collaboration, and that gives people the opportunity to look at things, address things at their own pace, kind of with the whole picture, and then use the synchronous conversations, the chats for culture building, for community, for problem solving when you really need to be in front of someone and talking to each other. But like trying to understand what is the right format, what is the right technology and tool for the problem is, I think, something that the best remote companies are really good at. And the companies that haven't figured it out yet, probably, that's where they have the most upside and opportunity.
Can you give me an example that from one of the companies that work with you or from your company, how you tackle the communication issue within the team, how you engage them, specific practical tool that
Yeah.
you can listen tomorrow morning and say, okay, I want to implement it. I will start with this baby steps.
Yeah, so Deskpass is a totally remote company. So we have like a Monday meeting. We have a team stand every Monday. Everyone gets on a call and says, hey, this is what I'm planning to work on this week. This is, a notable thing that got accomplished last week. If I'm blocked or I'm running into an issue or I need to talk to somebody about something, it's a great time to say, hey, Tim, let's chat about that offline. It's another opportunity to say, hey, Thursday and Friday, I'm going to a conference, so it's a bad time for me, right? So that's one practice that we use. And then we have a lot of communication via Slack. I mean, that's probably the principal channel that we talk through. I think with that, what's been an important thing for us to figure out, and I think one of the problems with tools like Slack is they're always on, and it's easy to think, okay, Sam sent me a message, so I need to respond to it right now. And we've tried to build a culture where you could say, I'm not going to respond to that right now. I'm working on something thoughtful or more important. And you're not expected to just respond to everything all the time whenever you see it, but empower people to respond thoughtfully when they have the right time and space to do so. I think that's a big challenge using modern tools. Is like sort of that green dot of, Sam's online, so is he working? Or Sam's not online, that green dot's not on there, and ignoring that concept. And then also being able to say, like, you don't have to respond to everything all the time in real time. Like, the important stuff should be more thoughtfully documented, should be in a different format. That's what we use, kind of our longer formats.
I think it's really important, and it takes me to the next question that I wanted to ask you, because my expertise is in the conscious leadership aspect realm. And actually nowadays we really need to increase our consciousness and presence, right? And not be bombarded with, and manage actually our attentions and our presence in order to be more efficient, productive, and much more to get to the right people and to approach them. So you're first of all saying, okay, we actually engage people by telling them to be attentive to their time, to themselves, and to learn to put boundaries and not to react automatically to each message that pops up. Otherwise, you can't handle it, right? You won't be able to manage yourself and navigate what you want to do, because you will be managed by all the distraction out there. And this, I think it's a big, as you said, a big challenge nowadays.
Yes. I mean, I think in this modern world we live in, where it's ping, 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 notification, everyone is attacking you for your attention. It's like the economy of attention. And we've gotten these tools and technologies have gotten so good at it. So I think it's a really important practice as an individual and as a leader in a company to try to share that with your team, which is slow down. Like, you don't have to move as fast as all these notifications. Protect your time, protect your ability to focus and think thoughtfully. And it's not about doing 100 things. It's about doing 5 things that are the most important things to be doing. And by doing those 5 really important things and giving them your attention and your focus, you will most likely have far more impact than doing 50 small little things that don't move the needle. But we are being assaulted, right? Like, by these tools and technology that we work in, and this notion of being present online. Like, these companies that have track you, or how much you move your mouse, right? Like, I get my best thoughts often by stopping, by taking a walk, right? By not being in it all the time. And I think so much of that is hiring really wonderful people and trusting them, and then talking to them and listening to them. And I think that is the kind of conscious part of leadership that, in a world where everything is trackable and quantifiable, like having these human conversations with people you work with and trying to understand where they're at and what's going on in their life and what's distracting them. That's how you create a productive, happy culture.
I couldn't agree more. You say, actually, at the end of the day, with all the technology that advanced to the speed of light, the AI that we're developing by ourselves, we need to come back to the human abilities and skills and to interact as human beings and to really see my employee that I'm working with him to see if he struggles and to have these small conversations and to see him as a human being. And once we will communicate better with our employees, with our team, we'll be able, as you said at the beginning, to adjust the technology, right, to see what fits each one of our employees and then to make it accurate for our employee to work with the right tools. And at the same time, it will create this engagement among the team because people will see each other as human beings and will really have this deep conversation and connection. And then the technology will stay the tool and want the upside that we need to serve the technology, but the technology will serve us. And I think it's a big struggle that we need to handle now as leaders, as managers.
It's hard, especially as you try to scale a business. Like we are coming from this like one to you think about the office. Like, why was the office so popular? It's one place to manage many people. It's one place where everyone goes. It's one place where I can educate, feed, create culture. Like the moment you take away the paradigm of one to many, and all of a sudden I have many employees in many locations, that's a much more difficult, complicated thing to solve for. That is a real shift. And I think, but that is ultimately the best solution. Like meet people where they're at, recognize folks are different, give them the tools, empower them. It's more work. It's harder. But if you do it well, some of the best, most productive, fastest growing companies in the world are remote companies. Like what's the Nvidia, right? Like the darling of the US stock market. Like that's a remote company. That's a company that has really thoughtfully figured out how to work with their employees and manage in a way that is not traditional, but it's still new and we're still very much trying to figure it out.
Yes, I think, as you said, we need to create, first of all, the base, the foundation is creating trust, right, among our employees and building this trust in order to work good together, great together.
I think in the world we live in, when you're disconnected from employees, I think that there's, one of the beautiful things about working in person with people, and I love working in person, like I really value that time, but there are a million cues that like a thoughtful, empathetic person will read. Body language, voice, what you're wearing, like little stuff can tell a story. Hey, you all right? You know what I mean? And it's easier to do with video. It's very hard to do through text. It's very hard to do asynchronously. Mm-hmm. And I think like trying to create opportunities to allow people to just be able to see that and say like, hey, are you struggling? Like, or you're doing great. Like, what's going on? But we're humans. And at the end of the day, I think that's the most important part of what we're doing here. And so how do you as a company can you pick up and read those things and meet people where they're at? And if they're remote, like we do little things, like sometimes we'll send people something like a thoughtful little gift or just, a meal or just something to like thank them or to just like say like, hey man, like it's all good. We're here for each other, and again, that's not as easy remote, but it's really important.
There's a practice that I know in different companies that have this coffee meeting. So they open the Zoom or whatever, and whoever wants to jump on this call and, to have a small talk with his colleagues, he can do it. So it created these platforms for people to connect, even in an informal way, right? Not only talking about the work we are doing, but...
That's a great practice that we love and I really like, which is just like if we have an hour-long conversation, because we're remote, like it doesn't have to be efficient. Like hopefully the other work you're doing asynchronously is very efficient, but like we don't get as much of that. So to spend the first 10 minutes talking about something funny or something that happened someone's weekend and cherishing that and honoring that and making space for that and not saying like, like we're on the clock, like let's get to work. Like I think that that's an important practice. And I love when companies do like, hey, we're all going to just like share video, but not talk. Like, or once a month we do like a town hall. And like one of the town halls we did recently, and I love this, was we had everybody take a picture of their desk And then we had everyone guess whose desk is that, you
I
know?
know.
And it's beautiful. Like it's very lovely and fun. And like it's those things that you have to kind of design and engineer, but create another wonderful sense of community and connection.
I love it. Yes, it's actually getting people to know each other beyond the work, right? Connecting deeply and having this small thing. It doesn't need to be a big thing, but this small talks and learning about each other. How does your space look like and what's important for you and how you went through this. I think that's amazing. And it's in a paradoxical way, like it feels like we are wasting time. But as you said, I think it's creating much more productive and efficient workplaces because the people feel connected and seen, and then they will go to do the work and they will help each other, right? Because if I sat with you and heard about your problem or what do you have fun with your family on Friday, now I feel connected to you. So if you approach me for help, I will say, okay, sure, I will help you.
Of course.
I will find, right? I'll find the time.
Yeah. That thing I mentioned that we did, it was really fun because it's like, I've seen this view of you for 5 years, but I've never seen what you're looking at. And just to see what you're looking at, or like, I don't know, creates empathy and creates a connection. And it's so dumb and so simple, but really special. And I love designing, connections like that. We also did a retreat like this in this last year. A lot of our company we've never as a group came together, and we didn't spend the 4 days together like work. We spent a day working, and the rest of the time was like, look, we work a lot together. Like, let's go for a hike. Let's, like go by the campfire. And I think like dividends, like we saw huge dividends from setting up that time and experience. And it wasn't about, being as efficient in that time as possible to do as much work. It was about like, how do we create as much connection in that time as best as possible?
Amazing. And I really believe that it's crucial, especially nowadays that we're working remotely and decentralized of the digital space. So creating this space for this connection, even as you say, physical space, or going to a retreat of 2-3 days to connect deeper with each other, then we can, even when we are working in this platform, we feel connected, right? So it's not a barrier. But we do need to get out of the automatic behavior, automatic routine, and really consciously decide when we do it and to put energy and time and money for these things. And as you said, it can be a small thing like opening the meeting with a 5 minutes unintentional talk, or really intentionally finding a space where you bring everybody worldwide to a specific place.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big range between the expensive one, right?
Yeah, but I mean, ideally, like I would argue we don't have an office, right? Like we save so much money in that respect that like instead of just taking that cost savings, reinvesting that savings in building community and building connection, like that's what I think smart companies do.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Community, I think it's the future, right? Because we are looking to be part of something bigger than ourselves, to feel connected, to share our experience and learn from each other. And Sam, I need as we need to wrap up, I want to ask you, first of all, if there's any question that I didn't ask you and you want to share with our listeners from your experience.
In terms of like what I focus on in my specialty, which is helping these companies, small and large, kind of adapt to this future of work, I would say it's amazing. Like every company is different. Every company is in a different place. Every company has unique ingredients. And I think it's about trying. I think it's still about experimentation, about trusting your employees and giving them a connection. So like for me and for our business, like that's what we do all day long. And, like really not to be salesy, but it's like reach out. Like even if we're not the right thing, like we work with all these people that are thinking about this problem in different ways and like can point you, but like it's still the Wild West. There's no like Harvard business case study on the best way to do this yet. And we're still, every company is trying to figure out the right chemistry and the right set of tools. But I think like the beginning, the most important part is trying these options. And often It's scary both for like employees and for managers to try new things, to use new spaces, to try new processes. But I think, none of it is permanent. And what we found is really thoughtful companies adapt and evolve, but it's based on like not just what they read or what even people say, but it's by giving opportunity and then listening to the results.
It feels like getting out of your comfort zone and trying new methods and methodologies, right, in order to adjust to the new future, because it won't stay as it was. And from the beginning, I wanted to ask you a question. What do you love most in your entrepreneurial journey? What did you learn the most and you love, and is your passion to continue on and build these companies?
Yeah, I love people, and I love getting to meet really amazing people and build connections with them. And I think as an entrepreneur, ebbs and flows, but it gives you a fair amount of autonomy. I got a 5-year-old, I got an 8-year-old. Having the freedom to take them to school when I want to or when we can, or take time to be with them and not have to like be in this dogmatic like 9 to 5 at the desk every day, but like has been just a really wonderful gift. But I mean, through the agency and through this business, I get to talk to like really amazing, fantastic humans all day and learn. And I'm here for that.
Amazing. This is what I felt when I started talking to you, that you like to learn and to experiment and also, navigate your own life to wherever you want. And actually, this is what you're offering with your platform for organization to find the right blend and solution for themselves in order to create their unique culture and to adjust to their employees in order to bring themselves to the cutting edge and use you as a platform. So Sam, thank you very much. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Likewise, thank you.
Hope you enjoyed the conversation. You're invited to subscribe to our podcast in order to know when we upload a new episode, and follow us on social media. Thank you for listening. Until next time, take care and bye-bye.